From being successful in leading a series of Russian girls into big champions in figure skating, we were probably no stranger to the name Eteri Tutberidze, who has revolutionized figure skating. Turned women's figure skating into a sport of superhuman prepubescence. So how has Eteri been able to train such a whole fleet of champions, all of whom have already achieved their own success at a young age, before their careers quickly came to an end? And most importantly, after a decade of being a coach, she has accomplished more greater than any other coaches, which was what a coach needs to. Eteri Tutberidze, maybe a name you'll never forget from this video onwards. We got to go back to the beginning of her career. Eteri Tutberidze got her start in figure skating when she was young, but to no avail, until switching to a career in coaching, and it was also at the time when her determination and incredible athletic success made her a global household name. But little is known about Tutberidze launching her initial career as a coach in the United States, with her daughter, Diana Davis, at the time. But not long later that moved back to Russia, in the early 2010s, and then she quickly joined the Samba 70 Club, in Moscow in 2014. Despite the competitive sport industry, she has remained known for her harsh training methods, which will sometimes take heavy physical tolls, as well as disregarding athletes' long-term health. Eteri's journey was different from most of other coaches from the beginning. She is going to set the bar so high for her students' success. She was once an unremarkable figure skater, and then, Eteri has risen to prominence as a major breakout in figure skating. When she took her first student, 15-year-old Yulia Lipnitskaya, who was known as the girl in the red coat, was how Yulia remembered by foreign fans, as she gained a constant series of resounding victories, culminating in an Olympic gold medal in team events, in Sochi 2014, at which she skated to music from the movie, Schindler's List, 1993. Earning a compliment from Hollywood director, Steven Spielberg, and not only that her Schindler's List program went super viral internationally at the time. Following the resounding 2014 Sochi victory, Yulia began gaining a lot of traction from public, and formally became the name have been noticed the most. She even graced the cover of Time magazine, for the first time. Because of it, Eteri Tutberidze's reputation has been rising after the stunning performance of Yulia Lipnitskaya, whom she coached at the 2014 Olympics. Eteri Tutberidze has been beginning training the world's top female skaters ever since. But Yulia Lipnitskaya's career rapidly went downhill. After 3 months of treatment for anorexia, she announced her retirement, at age 19, due to various leg and hip injuries. Some pointed out that it was Eteri's weight restrictions and harsh training on her students that led Yulia to her early retirement. During this period, it was clear that Eteri is considering finding another potential favorite, when Evgenia Medvedev appears, being known as a huge fan of Yuzuru Hanyu, with an energetic power on ice. She was looked to be the favorite to win at the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics. However, in the months before the games, another 15-year-old student, Alina Zagitova, who ultimately captured the Olympic gold. Due to her more difficult technical content, and ability to place all of her jumps in the second half of her routines. However, Evgenia's career has been declined quickly, and got constant injured during the seasons, which made her retire at 21. The legacy of her triumphant career was to suffer a chronic back injury, that makes it impossible for her to turn to the left, and Alina Zagitova has suffered the same fate. Her career hasn't been lasted long, for facing an early retirement, after consistently harsh training caused permanent damage to her back. In fact, it created a very realistic portrayal of a concerning pattern in Eteri girls. originating from each of them began retiring early. It was so weird that the fans referred to Eteri's star students as disposable, or perishable goods. Yes, it's true enough that when she used her Ollie's health in exchange for medals, which then led to her title, Eteri expiration date, has been formed understandably, when her athletes are often forced into early retirement with several injuries, which led to be unable to go any further. However, Eteri Tutberidze's reputation has been getting bigger, as the arrival of AAA, such as Alyona Kostornaya, Anna Shkurbakova, and Alexandra Trusova, all of whom were hailed as a landmark history of Russian figure skating. With being capable of at least one Ultra C jumping element, jumps rarely performed by women which even men must have to struggle with, while Kostornaya had a triple axel, and Shkurbakova, then Trusova could jump 4 rotations. Something almost unheard of in women before them. Throughout 2019-20, the trio had landed countless quadruple jumps, and swept all the medals awarded, at every single competition. But at the 2022 Winter Olympic Games in Beijing, where has witnessed the downfall of the Eteri Empire, when people began to turn the whole attention to 15-year-old Kamila Valieva, claimed to have tested positive for trimetazethine, a drug the World Anti-Doping Agency categorizes as a hormone and metabolic modulator, which led her to slipping from first place to 4th, after an error-strewn routine in the ladies' singles free skate. The moment Kamila Valieva came off the ice, and the reporters surrounded a 15-year-old athlete, with the questions involved in the doping scandals at the Olympic. While her coach, Eteri Tutberidze's behavior was very much noticeable, as she was repeatedly asking Kamila why she stopped fighting, and left the rink in tears, capping off a string of controversies, after the teen was cleared to skate, despite testing positive for a banned substance. The gold medalist ended up falling into the hands of Anna Shkurbakova. It's important to say that it was no stranger to Russia doping controversy, in the lead-up to exposing her abuse of athletes. Under the excuse of training on a legal level, Eteri pushed her students too far to a point of no return. Over time, people have came to notice that Eteri's coach method isn't as safe as it seems to be. It was Eteri Tutberidze that has reportedly taken a lead role in taking the Russians' women's figure skating to levels we have never seen before. But not without controversy. But then it slowly contrasted with that, her coach method didn't increasingly work out, and led to the quick decline of her reputation. Not only that, the doping scandals of Kamila, at the 2022 Beijing Olympics, helped fuel such a massive hole that Eteri herself had to chime in on the controversy, she said in an interview. It was believed that she looked on Kamila as a convenient shield to protect her from criticism, as her supporters would repeatedly remind her detractors that Kamila is just a 15-year-old kid. While Kamila failed a drug test, which made people focus on the adults around her, and the alleged dark underworld of Russian figure skating, beneath the glittering surface. Eteri has continued enduring relentless media attention, centered around Kamila's doping scandal, and women's independent figure skating at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. But there is no doubt that Russia figure skating was a master of hiding history of doping. When the figures who behind a 15-year-old athlete regarding shady, to how did she could use the drugs, in an unusual way in the days, close to the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. But this isn't the first time Russian athletes have been pulled up for using the drug, or a close relative of the drug. It's worth noting that in an interview with Russian TV in 2019, Valieva's coach, Tutberidze, claimed to defend meldonium as harmless, added it does not enhance athletic ability, and only helps to recuperate the heart muscles. When the backlash hit, that's affecting not only her renown, but all the people who has trained under Eteri Tutberidze, once claimed that she forced to put them on diets of powdered nutrients. And forbade them from drinking water by the day of competition, as she believed it became significantly easier to do alt jumps. The problem was that girls' bodies can't support quad jumps, without muscle and food. Although dominating every podium, it makes them suffer severe back issues. To add to pre-rotation, a dangerous technique practice, that utilizes the back to begin jump rotation, before the skater leaves the ice instead of properly in the air. Basically, Eteri's coach method had already sparked safety concerns, as this gets their rotations into win points, but it breaks down their bodies. Eteri had built what many taking it as a kind of system, that's set up under the guise of compassion, or the security of Russia's women's figure skating futures, which will make you look at the whole situation in a whole new light. In the aftermath of Camilla's doping scandal, it's important to understand that Eteri Tutberidze appears to have still come out on top. However, it begs the question if Eteri has been responsible for the gravity of the consequences for Camilla's doping scandal, and the Eteri girls. Many want to see Tutberidze held accountable for her selfishness, but to this day, the question remains unclear.